We hadn't talked for a year. Suddenly, my dad wrote me, "Let's forget our grievances. Come to dinner." I came. There were tears, laughter, hugs. "We missed you," my sister said. Then I accidentally opened their family chat. "Okay." He believed me. "The next step is to re-register the house." I smiled and said nothing. After 3 weeks, karma hit hard. They begged me nonstop. "Please help." We hadn't talked in over a year. No texts, no birthdays, no holidays. The silence started after I bought the house. It was a 4-bedroom just outside of Charlotte, my first real home after years of grinding. I didn't ask anyone for help. I didn't even tell them at first. I'd been keeping my distance, especially from my mom. She could be intense, controlling. The kind of person who remembered everything she did for you and expected it all paid back, with interest. The moment she found out about the house, she assumed it meant I was finally going to bring the family together again. She called it a blessing for everyone. I told her it was mine. I told her I needed it for myself. That didn't go over well. Things were said. She told me I was selfish. My dad backed her. Ellie didn't say much, but she didn't defend me either. And just like that, I was gone. Cut them off. Not out of hate, but because I needed peace. Then out of nowhere, almost exactly a year later, my dad texted. "Let's forget our grievances. Come to dinner." No emojis. No guilt trip. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't trust it. But I showed up anyway. I don't even know why. Maybe part of me missed something. Or maybe I just wanted to see what they really wanted. When I pulled up to the old house, nothing had changed. Same paint peeling off the porch. Same dead rosebush by the steps. But inside, it was like stepping into a memory. My dad hugged me right at the door. Ellie ran over, squeezed me like she hadn't seen me in 10 years. Even my mom, who once said I was turning my back on everything that mattered, smiled and kissed my cheek. Dinner was already on the table. Chicken, mac and cheese, green beans. The exact meal she always made when she wanted something. I noticed that. We sat. We ate. We talked like none of us had thrown verbal grenades a year ago. They laughed at my stories. My dad asked about the house, how I was settling in, what kind of neighbors I had. Ellie said she wanted to visit sometime soon. My mom dropped little comments about how this family belongs together, and how big houses shouldn't sit empty. I played along. Smiled. Nodded. When I got up to use the bathroom, I noticed my phone had automatically connected to their Wi-Fi. I hadn't been there in a year, but the settings were still saved. I opened WhatsApp, checking a message from a friend, and then, somehow, I tapped into something else. Their family group chat. Not the one with me in it. The one without me. It was open. Maybe Ellie had used my phone once, and it stayed logged in. Maybe it was a glitch. Either way, I was in. I didn't even have to scroll far. Okay. He believed me. The next step is to re-register the house. I kept reading. There were messages from all 3 of them. Plotting. Discussing how to soften me up. How to get in the door. My mom even joked about how gullible I could be. That part hit harder than I expected. I sat there, phone in hand, just staring at the thread. They missed me, sure. But not because they loved me. They missed the idea of free space, of taking over something they didn't earn. The dinner, the hugs, the fake peace, all part of a plan. I put the phone down and walked back to the table. Smiled. Helped clear dishes. Hugged them one more time at the door. I didn't say a word about what I saw. But in my head, something had already clicked. If they wanted a game, I could play too. Just not the one they thought. After I saw that message in their family chat, I didn't confront anyone. That would have been too easy for them. I figured if they were planning something this layered, they'd expect a reaction. They were probably even counting on it. A confrontation, a fallout, maybe even another blow-up that they could twist around and use against me later. So I gave them the opposite. I texted Ellie the next morning. Told her dinner was great, that I was glad we were reconnecting. She responded instantly, said she was just telling Mom how happy she was that I came. Then she asked if I'd be okay with coming by next weekend to help Dad move an old couch. I said sure. Then I offered something else. Told her maybe next time, they could come over to my place. I said I'd cook something nice. Her reply came so fast I wondered if she was waiting by the phone. OMG, yes. I miss your kitchen, lol. Mom said your house looks amazing. That weekend I let them in. All three of them. My mom walked through the front door like she owned the place. Her eyes scanned every corner, every piece of furniture, every wall color. She didn't even try to be subtle. I caught her opening closets, checking cabinets, even asking questions like, "Where did you buy this table?" But what she was really doing was sizing the place up. My dad complimented the layout. Said things like, "This would be perfect for family game nights." He sat on the couch like it was already his. Ellie took pictures. Said she wanted to remember it. Then she asked me if the guest room was set up yet. I said it was. I even let her take a look. That's when the game really started. Over the next 3 weeks, they kept coming over. First just for lunch. Then for dinner. Then they started showing up with little things, a bag of groceries, a toolbox, even some throw pillows my mom said would go great with the color of the sofa. I let it happen. Smiled. Gave them coffee. Played the forgiving son. They started talking to me like I was slowly becoming part of their plan again. My mom said things like, "It's so good to have the family together." My dad asked about the locks, if I ever considered changing them. Just to be safe. Ellie said her bedroom at home felt too small now, and joked that my guest room was calling her name. I kept pretending to miss the subtext. Then the conversation shifted. One afternoon, my dad mentioned that with how uncertain the economy was, maybe I should think about securing the house. For the long term. He brought up the idea of a trust. Said putting the property in a family trust would keep everyone safe. My mom jumped in right away. Said a trust would also make sure no one ever tried to take the house from you. I nodded slowly, like I was considering it. Later that night, I searched every legal scenario they could be trying to exploit. I already had a lawyer lined up, a friend of mine from college who owed me a favor. She explained exactly what they were probably going for. Step 1. Establish residency by receiving mail, leaving belongings, and making themselves visible in the neighborhood. Step 2. Suggest forming a family trust or having me sign over co-ownership under the guise of protecting the house. Step 3. Once inside the system, make legal moves. Claims. Disputes. If it got messy enough, I'd either lose control of the house or get stuck in court for years. They'd studied this. But what they didn't know was I was studying them too. Every visit, every comment, every item they brought over, I logged it. Took photos. Saved messages. I recorded their suggestions there, jokes, about who'd take which room, even the moment my mom mentioned maybe transferring some of their mail to my address. Just until they get back on their feet. I agreed. Told her it made sense. Handed her a form I printed from a fake USPS change of address template I found online. Told her to fill it out, and I'd mail it. She smiled. Called me a good boy. She actually said that. I never mailed it. I kept that form in a file with everything else. By the 3rd week, they were almost living at my place. Not full-time, but enough. Ellie stayed over twice. My dad brought his old stereo system and set it up. Just for fun. My mom filled one of my cabinets with her vitamins and tea. I watched every move like a chessboard. Then, like I expected, came the final pitch. My dad sat me down with a serious tone, said they'd been talking, that maybe the house needed to be under all of our names, you know. Just in case something happened. He said it like it was a favor to me. I acted surprised. Then grateful. Told him I'd think about it. But I already knew what I was going to do. After that conversation, I told them I'd talk to someone about the paperwork. I gave them just enough hope to keep them leaning forward, thinking the hook was in. They didn't realize I'd been 2 steps ahead from the start. That night, I printed out a fake co-ownership agreement. Completely bogus, just something that looked official enough to get a reaction. I left it on my coffee table, partly filled out. I made sure it was visible the next time they came over. It didn't take long. My mom spotted it before she even sat down. She didn't say anything at first, but I could see her eyes flicking back to it while she poured her tea. When she thought I wasn't looking, she picked it up, studied it. I acted like I didn't notice. A minute later she asked if I needed help understanding the legalese. I told her I was taking care of it. That same evening, my dad brought up utilities. Said maybe they could start paying a small share, to ease my burden. Ellie mentioned she'd found a cute rug for her room, and asked if she could order it. They were speeding up. I let it ride. Then I made my own move. I started calling contractors. Loudly. On speakerphone. Talking about installing surveillance cameras around the house, upgrading the security system, adding motion sensors. My mom said that sounded paranoid. Asked what I was worried about. I smiled and said, "Oh, you know. Just in case something happens." A few days later, I took it further. Told them I needed their full names and birth dates for the trust paperwork. They gave it to me instantly, like they'd been waiting for that moment. I told them it would take about a week, and after that, I'd set up a family meeting with the notary. What I actually did was set up a meeting with my lawyer. I gave her every photo, every recording, every email and message. She documented everything. Created a timeline. She even ran their names to check for anything suspicious. Turns out my dad had already looked into legal avenues months ago for family property disputes. They were fully invested. But I wasn't filing anything. I was just watching. Then I stopped replying for a couple of days. Ellie texted me 3 times. My mom called twice. My dad finally sent a message saying, "Let's not lose momentum. We're almost there." I waited 24 hours and wrote back, "I know." Then I sent a mass text inviting them to the house on Sunday. Told them it was time to finalize everything. Said I had papers ready and needed signatures. I even said I'd cook. They showed up exactly on time. My mom had a cake. Ellie brought her laptop. My dad wore a button-down shirt like he was headed to a job interview. I sat them all in the living room. Then I brought out the papers. They weren't trust forms. They were copies of the chat I'd seen. Every message. Printed and highlighted. I laid them out slowly, page by page, like a dealer with a winning hand. At first, no one said anything. My mom was the first to speak, said I was taking things too seriously. That it was just a joke, just a misunderstanding. Ellie stayed quiet. My dad asked how I got the messages. I didn't answer. I told them what I'd been doing. That I knew from the beginning. That I'd recorded everything. That not a single step they took caught me off guard. Then I dropped the last piece, the lawyer. The full report. The evidence. The intent. The potential fraud. I told them I wasn't going to the police. Not yet. But that they needed to leave my house. Right now. And never come back. My mom started crying. My dad asked if we could talk. Man to man. Ellie looked like she was in shock. I stood up. Told them I was disappointed. Not angry. Not even surprised. Just done. And as they stood there trying to figure out what to say next, I told them the last thing. Thank me for not pressing charges. And for the record, I don't owe you anything. Not anymore. They left without another word. I closed the door. Locked it. And this time, I knew they wouldn't be back. After they left, I didn't hear from any of them for a full week. It was the quietest my phone had been in months. No texts. No calls. No surprise drop-ins. The silence felt clean. I half expected my mom to come storming back, trying to argue her way into the moral high ground. She didn't. Maybe she was too stunned. Maybe she was ashamed. Probably not, though. With her, shame rarely stuck. But then, right on cue, the unraveling began. Ellie messaged me first. Late at night. I didn't know everything. I just thought it was about reconnecting. I swear. I didn't answer. Then came the call from my dad. He left a voicemail, which he never does. Said things had gotten misunderstood. That I'd always be his son no matter what, and that this whole thing was never meant to hurt me. He sounded tired. Desperate. 2 days later, they started showing up at the gate. First it was just my dad. He waited by the sidewalk for nearly an hour, pretending to talk on the phone. Then he left. The next day, it was Ellie. She stood there with a paper bag in her hand. I watched through the blinds as she placed it on the ground and walked away. I didn't open it. Later, I tossed it in the trash without checking what was inside. By the end of the week, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Turned out to be my mom, calling from a friend's phone. She said she needed to talk. That everything was falling apart. That the landlord at their place had given them notice. They were behind on rent, and now he was kicking them out. We thought you'd help. I asked her why. Why they thought I'd help after everything. She hesitated. Said something about blood being thicker than water. I hung up. That's when the begging really started. Text after text. From all three of them. Promises. Apologies. My dad said he'd sign anything I wanted, just please let them stay until they found a new place. Ellie said she had nowhere to go. My mom sent me a voice note, crying, rambling, saying she couldn't believe I'd abandoned my own family. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent one message to the group chat they created just for me. I warned you not to push me. You took my kindness for weakness. Now you'll see what silence feels like. I blocked the group right after. That weekend, I took the paperwork from my lawyer, the whole file, and put it in a safe deposit box. Just in case. Not because I planned to press charges. But I wanted the option. Word got around. A cousin messaged me saying he heard I cut off my whole family. I told him not to believe everything he hears. But I didn't deny it. The truth was, I didn't feel guilty. I felt clear. And they were unraveling without my help. Every time they tried to manipulate someone else, it backfired. My mom called a family friend asking for a loan. The woman told her she needed to ask me. My dad tried to talk to a former coworker about staying at their place. Got turned down. Ellie crashed at a friend's apartment for a while, but even that didn't last. Karma didn't wait long. It hit fast. And the thing is, I didn't lift a finger. They were falling apart all on their own. 3 weeks after that last message, I was driving home from work when I saw them. My parents. Standing outside the gate again. No car. Just standing there like statues, unsure if they were waiting for me or if they didn't know where else to go. I slowed down, made eye contact, then drove right past them. Didn't stop. Didn't wave. By the time I parked and looked out the window, they were gone. That night, Ellie called from a different number. I answered, mostly out of curiosity. She asked if I'd just listen for a second. Said she wasn't calling to defend anyone. Just wanted me to know what was happening. Apparently, after I shut them out, they tried everything. Mom called relatives she hadn't spoken to in years, painting herself as the victim. Most didn't bite. Dad sold a few things from the garage, scraped together enough to cover part of the rent, but it was too late. The eviction notice had already been served. Ellie moved in with a friend from college, but her friend had rules. No guests. No overnight family. No drama. Which meant she couldn't help Mom and Dad. She didn't ask me for money. She asked me to just talk to Mom. I said I'd think about it. Then I hung up. I didn't think about it. What I did instead was drive to their old house the next morning. Just to see it. Empty. Trash bags piled by the curb. The windows bare. No curtains. No life. It was surreal. A year ago, I would have done anything to feel like we were a family again. A few weeks ago, I walked into that house and thought I had it. Now, it was a shell, just like their version of love. When I got back, I found an envelope taped to my front door. No name. No address. Just taped in the center like a note from some ghost. Inside was a handwritten letter from my mom. Pages and pages of everything. Some apology, some blame, some begging, some rewriting of history. She said they only pushed so hard because they were scared. Because they felt left behind. Because they were desperate. She ended it with a single sentence. We were wrong, but we're still your family. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and tossed it in a drawer I never open. And I didn't respond. Because by now, I saw it for what it was. Not guilt. Not clarity. Just another strategy. Another swing at control. A few days later, Ellie messaged me again. This time, the tone was different. They're staying at a motel. They're out of money. Mom's health isn't great. I know you don't owe us anything. I just thought you should know. I stared at the message for a while. I didn't respond. They weren't just in trouble now. They were crumbling. My dad was too proud to ask anyone else. My mom had burned too many bridges. Ellie, caught in the middle, was finally seeing the damage clearly. But it was too late. They thought I was a safety net. Turns out, I was the last rope they had. And they lit it on fire. It was pouring the last time they showed up. I was working late, Had a conference call on mute when the security notification popped up on my screen. Motion detected at the front gate. I opened the camera feed without thinking. There they were. All three of them. Soaked through. No umbrella. Just standing there like some scene from a bad dream. My mom clutching a wet handbag, Ellie with her arms wrapped around herself, my dad staring directly into the lens like he knew I was watching. They didn't buzz the intercom. Not at first. They just stood there. Then Ellie stepped forward, pressed the button. I didn't answer. After a full minute, my mom knocked. Not even on the door, just on the metal gate. The sound echoed through the monitor like it was happening in my own chest. I didn't move. I just watched. Eventually, Ellie pulled out her phone and called me. I answered, said nothing. Just listened. She whispered one word. Please. That was it. I hung up and killed the feed. 15 minutes later, I checked again. They were gone. And just like that, the final thread snapped. That was the moment. Not the betrayal, not the lies, not the fake dinner or the staged tears. It was that rainy day when they came back one last time with nothing left to hide behind, and I still couldn't open the door. Not because I was angry. Because I was done. The next morning, I packed every item they'd left in the house. Ellie's charger. My mom's tea stash. The throw blanket my dad insisted on keeping on his chair. I put it all in a single box, taped it shut, and left it at the edge of my property with a simple note inside. This is all that's left. Don't come back. I never saw them again in person. But word traveled. Ellie moved in with someone in Denver. She took a job at some co-op kitchen. She sent one last message, something between apology and explanation. I didn't know it would go that far. I thought it was just a way to get close again. I didn't expect them to do that. I didn't reply. My mom and dad were worse off. Way worse. A neighbor from their old street told me they tried to move into a rundown trailer a few towns over, but couldn't even scrape together the down payment. My dad sold the last decent tool set he had for rent money. My mom started calling people she hadn't spoken to in years, people she used to mock, trying to borrow a few $100s at a time. No one helped. They started showing up in church basements and food pantry lines. Places they used to call for people who don't work hard enough. The kind of people they used to judge out loud in public. They became those people. And I didn't feel anything. Because this wasn't some karmic fairy tale. This was just the ending they wrote for themselves. When you treat someone like a bank account, don't be surprised when the funds dry up. I never wanted revenge. I just wanted peace. I got that. I kept the house. Changed the locks. Installed new cameras. Filed a legal notice with my attorney that they were no longer welcome on the property, and if they ever showed up again, they'd be trespassing. I even had a formal document drafted, outlining the timeline of their actions, just in case I ever needed to hand it to a judge. Sometimes I get asked why I didn't just let it go. The truth? I did. But letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means recognizing the moment you stop owing people your silence. I think they expected me to fold. To forgive. To play the dutiful son forever. They never imagined I'd walk away and not look back. But I did. And the last gift I gave them was silence. I think it hurt more than anything else I could have done.